What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Young Electrician Podcast. My name is Ruben Young, aka the Young Electrician. On this podcast, we like to see electricians grow, not just in the field, but also in their personal lives. With that said, today, this episode is going to be on what does it mean to be a journeyman electrician. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about it, so today we're going to dive into it and try to uncover what does it truly mean to be a journeyman electrician. So let's hop right in. Okay, so you might have heard it said, like I've heard it said many times, that the journeyman card is just a piece of paper. Is it true? Is it not true? Maybe a little bit of both. I remember I had a foreman one time say that he thought electricians should not be able to take the test to be certified until they were in their 10th year. Little ridiculous in my opinion, but I understand what he's coming from. A lot of times on job sites, I've worked with journeymen that, have been terrific electricians. And a lot of times I've worked with journeymen that have not been good workers. And I can understand where somebody's coming from when they say that the journeyman card is just a piece of paper. But I don't hold that view. I think the journeyman card actually means something. For you to go 4 years of, going to school, 4 years of working, learning, gathering that experience, and then to do the work to sit down, take that exam, and pass it, I think that makes it more than just a piece of paper. But what does it mean to be a journeyman? And I think there's a lot of misconceptions on what this means. And I think if we could understand this for ourselves, it'll help our careers. So, what does having a journeyman card not mean? Let's tackle this first. 1, it doesn't mean you know everything. I know for me, this is something that helped me back in the beginning because I thought when I was in my 4th, 5th year and I had enough experience to take the test, I was hesitant, partially because I didn't have the confidence in myself to think I could pass the test. But another part of me wasn't confident in my ability, which is kind of funny because in my 4th year, before I was even able to take the exam, I ran my first job. I was a foreman on a job site. It was a medium-sized residential project, but I ran it. I was in charge of guys. I was looking over the prints. I was walking with inspectors. I was dealing with other trades foremen and general contractors. But I still felt like I didn't have the proper amount of experience to be considered a journeyman. And that is partly because I had a bad view of what it meant to be a journeyman. I thought being a journeyman meant you know basically everything about electrical. You're a well-rounded, seasoned, knowledgeable electrician. And that's simply not true. So I want you guys to get that out of your head, especially you guys that are getting ready to take the test and maybe you feel a bit uneasy about being considered a journeyman because you're like, well, there's so much I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's things that you're really good at, but there's a lot you don't know. If you're in your 5th year and you're about to take your journeyman exam, buddy, there is a lot you just do not know. But that's okay because being a journeyman doesn't mean you know everything. 2, and this is for, I think we need to hear this. Being a journeyman does not mean you're like a lead man all of a sudden, you don't have to work. And it doesn't mean you're automatically like the foreman or the point guy. I've worked with guys who, I'd give them an apprentice or something. And just because they're a journeyman, they think they don't have to work. They think that, they're just going to keep their nose in the plans and they're going to be doing layout and, just telling guys what to do. That definitely is not what a journeyman is. It doesn't automatically mean you're a lead man. You still have to put your bags on. You still have to go to work. You still have to install stuff. Yeah, of course, you should be looking at the plans. You should have people working under you. You should, try to move to that position where you have guys under you. Because it doesn't automatically mean anybody's going to work under you. I mean, I've been a journeyman for a while, and there's times I've just worked by myself. I've had guys under me. I've worked under guys. I've worked by myself. So it doesn't mean you're automatically a lead man and you don't have to work. So get that out of your head. Just know that you're still going to have your bags on. You're still going to have to work. You have not arrived yet. Okay, so with that, let's hop into what does it mean, or what should it mean, to be a journeyman electrician and have your card. So one, this is the most basic idea of being a journeyman. It means you've worked in the field as an electrician for at least 8,000 hours. That's it. That's the basic, that you have worked in the electrical field for 8,000 hours. And I know if you look at the journeyman form to apply to take the journeyman test, you're going to see all kinds of things on it. You're going to see troubleshooting and maintenance, finish work and fixtures, fire life safety, voice data, underground conduit installation. And a lot of times we look at that and we get a little bit intimidated because we're like, man, I got like maybe a couple of those things, a few of those things, but I haven't done all that. I've never been a material handler on a job site. I've never worked in a warehouse or handled material because, I did a year of schooling and a lot of the schooling was hands-on. So right when I got to the field, I kind of had a good grasp on what I was doing and I have a good work ethic. So I was never the guy that handled material. From my first year on, I've never handled material. So yeah, what am I going to put in that box? So what does the DIR say about that? So if you go to the DIR website, I'm going to read it to you guys right here. It says, required 8,000 hours of work for an electrical contractor installing. So you're working for an electrical contractor and you're installing, you're working for him. Constructing or maintaining electrical systems covered by the National Electrical Code. The 8,000 hours must consist of work in 2 or more of the following areas. I'm going to stop right there. So that list of, when you're filling out how many hours you have in each area to apply to take the journeyman exam, you only need the minimum of 2 of those areas. But of course, they only give you a maximum amount of numbers per hours you could fill out for each one. So, take that for what it's worth. But you don't have to know all these things. You don't have to have experience in everything. It says 2 or more of these things. You look at that list, you're like, okay, well, I'm pretty confident I have 2 or more of those things. So 1, being a journeyman on the base level means you've worked 8,000 hours in the field. So take away that idea of being a journeyman means you know everything. You're a well-seasoned electrician. It does not mean that. Journeyman electrician does not mean well-seasoned electrician. 2, you develop the skills needed to navigate the codebook efficiently enough to pass the exam. You've developed the skills to navigate that codebook because that's what our job is. I mean, you're not going to have your nose in the codebook the entire time. A lot of this stuff's done for us on the field. But in order to be considered a journeyman, you need to know how to navigate that codebook efficiently enough to pass the exam. And you know what? I forgot a lot of the stuff I learned to, pass the exam. And I don't have this stuff at the top of my head like I did when I was studying. But I do have the ability when I go back and I'm dealing with something I learned before for the exam. And it's easy for me to remember it, to relearn it. I Google it, look it up. I'm like, oh yeah, I understand that. I know what I'm doing. And it's easy for me to catch on. And, so what you're doing is you're developing a kind of a foundation for yourself that you're going to build the rest of your career on. You need work experience. You've had experience working in the field. And you need to be able to navigate the code book. That is the basis of what it means to be a journeyman electrician in the state of California. Now, I want to add something. And I want to add something I think is going to be beneficial to you because when I learned it early on, when I got certified, it was very beneficial to me. a lot of us, we look at the journeyman certification as the goal, and it is a good goal to have. For most of us, when we're going through an apprenticeship or a trainee program, our goal is being certified. But I want to change the perspective on this a little bit. Being certified ultimately is not the goal, because you're in the trade for about 4 years, you get certified, and now it's past you. You're past that. So your goal as an electrician has to be more than just being certified. Now I'm going to tell you what somebody told me before. I was taking a course, and it was this old time journeyman electrician, and he had this lanyard around his neck, and he had a bunch of certifications on it. He told us being a journeyman isn't the goal. Being a journeyman is the start of your career. He said being a journeyman, getting that journeyman certification, is actually just the first step in being an electrician. Because from there, having this base level experience and knowledge, you can now build on what you want to specialize in. And this is what he was talking about. He says you want to specialize in something as an electrician. All of us, we have to have that 8,000 hours just to get our feet wet in the trade. And we need to pass this exam. We need to know how to navigate the code book. But then, after we do this baseline experiential stuff, now we can move on to actually establishing our career. So really, it is about specializing in something. And, this is one of the things that started to navigate me towards contracting. Because I was thinking, what do I want to specialize in? I never thought about that. I just thought I was going to be a journeyman, and, journeymen know everything. So I could just do anything. But the reality is, if you want a successful career, you should focus in on a couple aspects of electrical, or one aspect of electrical, whatever it may be, and work towards that. For the guy I was talking to, he did a lot of motor controls, and his career was guided towards more maintenance and motor controls, and he said it was an awesome career. He didn't work a lot. He'd go and he'd troubleshoot something, and he'd wait for parts and come back the next day, and it sounded pretty chill. And so I started looking into what should I specialize in. And the thing that I landed on is, well, I want to get into contracting. Of course, like if that doesn't work out, I want to be in a lead position, maybe a foreman or a project manager. So on the side, I do work towards that. At the moment, I am learning Bluebeam, which is a software for that a lot of construction companies use for reading prints, sharing prints, bidding. Really cool software. So at the time, I'm right now currently learning Bluebeam, so that one, it's going to benefit me if I move towards being a foreman, and it's going to benefit me when I get my contracting license, just for me in my own business. So when he told me this, it changed my perspective. Being a journeyman isn't the goal. Being a journeyman is the beginning of your electrical career, because it's from there, having that baseline understanding, knowledge, and experience, you can now build on your career, what you want to do for the rest of your life. You have the freedom now with that journeyman card to explore and pursue with very little limitations. So, 3, being a journeyman is the beginning of the rest of your career. So the 3 things that being a journeyman is or means: 1, it means that you worked in the trade or in the field for 8,000 hours. 2, it means that you were able to navigate the code book efficiently enough to pass the exam. And 3, this is coming from me, this is just my bonus piece of what it means to be a journeyman that I'm passing on to you. It means it is the beginning of your actual career as an electrician. So I want you guys to take that, and hopefully that benefits you, and you're able to look at your career now and think, wow, I can actually focus in, have that sniper scope focus on something I want to do. Because, as the old saying says, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And a lot of us, we get kicked around in the trade because we don't actually have our eyes set on anything. So I want you guys, and I want myself, to have my eyes and our eyes set on something, have a goal to specialize in. And there are plenty of classes out there, there are plenty of resources out there, there are plenty of companies out there for you to pursue the goal that you want. And I guarantee you, man, you are going to have a way easier time getting and keeping work if you get really good at something. And I don't mean just roping units, because that's going to only go so far. I mean, maybe you could rope some houses and you can make a lot of money that way, especially contracting for yourself. But you really want to look at what you want to do and you want to specialize in, and you don't want to limit yourself. You have to think about, how much money can I make doing this? How much time, effort, and energy is it going to take to learn this? And you really have to do those calculations for yourself. So with that said, guys, thank you for tuning into this episode. Hope you guys are blessed. I will catch you on the next one. Peace.